Chris Jericho showed up at the GCW event. What was I? What was I saying here? What was I saying? What was I telling you when we were talking about this? Starting to smell like a work, isn't it? Isn't it? Starting to smell like a work. I gotta tell you, I trust my gut. I trust my gut a lot. I trust my gut a lot. And I see things I, just take, and I'm like, hang on a second. Wait a minute. Wait a second. Wait a minute. You know what really made it for me? Was the second round of insults that Effie did. I'm like, no, wait a second. And then Matt Cardona shows up. And I'm like, hang on a second. What the fuck is going on? I wasn't born yesterday. Hell, Jesus Christ, I was really not born yesterday. Here's what happened. AEW's Chris Jericho made a surprise appearance at GCW Highest in the Room 3 Saturday in Los Angeles, attacking both Matt Cardona and Effie. Cardona was taking on Effie in a singles match, and after a low blow, Cardona was about to hit him with a belt shot when a disguised man hit the ring. He nailed Cardona with a bat, leading to Effie hitting a Rough Rider to pick up the win. Effie was confused as to who the man was, and then Jericho revealed himself, followed by a Judas effect to Jeffy for good measure. Jericho removed his sweatshirt to reveal an AEW t-shirt and laid in a few more bat shots to both Cardona and Effie before leaving to booze. Effie was in the news 3 weeks ago after comments he made about Tony Khan and his father Shad on a podcast, which were then followed by Ricky Starks being pulled from several GCW dates. Starks was supposed to be on Saturday's card against Cardona, but then was replaced by Effie. Willie Mack, who occasionally still works for AEW and Ring of Honor, was also pulled from GCW appearances this past week. That I still think is, I don't know. Both AEW and GCW will be running the Hammerstein Ballroom, as AEW Ring of Honor is holding 3 shows there this upcoming weekend, while GCW will appear there on January 19, something that also has become a public issue 3 weeks ago. It's unclear as of this point as to whether Jericho's appearance is an olive branch between the two companies or a previously agreed upon one-off build to Jericho and Cardona's Ring of Honor World Title match at Final Battle this Friday. Very interesting. Very, very, very interesting. The theory. So look, I'm saying work, but I will agree that this theory here, the theory of the olive branch, makes a lot of sense to me. It makes a lot of sense because this, I believe, is the kind of thing that Chris Jericho is very sensitive about, and where he can see a fix, where he can try to find a way to mend bridges. He's probably sitting around, he's seeing all of this go down, and, just the overall the negativity that's coming with it. There's a lot of guys who in the AEW locker room who still have connections to their pals on the indies, and there's probably, just maybe some bad feelings about it all, right? So I can absolutely see Chris Jericho, nabbing Tony Khan, sitting him down and saying, look, we got to hash this out. We have to come up with a solution, and I think this is what we should do. I should go there. We'll help promote Final Battle, and we'll give them a little boost as well. It'll be a good one-off thing that we'll do together, and then we'll go on our separate ways, and everyone will feel better about the situation, right? And we won't come across as the bad guys, and neither will they. So I really do see Chris Jericho coming in and being, a mediator for peace in this circumstance. I really, really do. So the idea of AEW extending an olive branch to do this, yeah, it makes sense. I think it makes sense. I've said this multiple times. One of the reasons that AEW was successful was how much of a grassroots movement it originally was. Lots of fan interaction, even, creating, doing stuff with StarCast to make sure that wrestlers and fans came into connection with each other. There was that proximity that they could have. The the press conferences that AEW would hold, interacting with fans online. Like at first, from the get-go, AEW was very much hands-on. We're with you guys, and we're close to fans. We're close to the reality of wrestling in North America and in the United States, I should say. And we're going to make sure that it stays that way, kind of thing. And that's something that AEW has lost. They've lost that connection. That's why, even though, like I said last week, I think it's kind of embarrassing that Tony Khan is working with Conrad Thompson. I think the idea of bringing back a star cast and creating an event again around pro wrestling for pro wrestling fans, I think that's a very good idea, and I think will help create goodwill again towards AEW on that front, trying to reconnect with fans, with the wrestling fans. That's what I think the company is sort of realizing, that they have lost wrestling fans, not these mythical casual fans. They've lost the wrestling fans who had joined the company, who had accompanied the company in the first place, and now they've drifted off for multiple reasons. It's not something that I want to. This is just a sidebar. It's not something we're digging deep into today. So I think a gesture like this is significant, and I think it's important. I think it's important that Chris Jericho shows up as an olive branch, as something to go, yep, this is a good idea. Yep, this is going to be a positive change. This is a good idea what we're doing here. Effie said that on his podcast. I think he's recording it this week or whatever. He said he was going to be very candid and explain how we got to this point with Chris Jericho. That'll be very interesting to listen to, which leads me to believe that there is some gas to this olive branch fire, which is weird to say, but that there is some weight to it, because if it was just something that happened out of the blue and it was just this one-off, then there probably wouldn't be a story to tell. The olive branch sounds like the nickname they would give Action Andretti if he joined the Learning Tree. Yeah, actually, you know what? Yep, because he's Italian, right? But it does raise the question that was raised in the chat. Where's Ricky Starks in all of this? Why not just give Ricky Starks his dates back instead of sending Chris Jericho? See, while the surface of this is seems to be like a very feel-good tale of AEW doing the right thing, there's still one guy who seems to be ending up on the bum end of the situation, and that's Ricky Starks. Now, are they keeping him? Is he waiting in the wings to do something? Is this how you bring Ricky Starks back to TV? Chris Jericho comes in sort of like as the savior of the company, so on and so forth, and he does whatever gimmick he needs to do with Effie and Cardona and GCW. And then Ricky Stark comes out and attacks Chris Jericho. And then that bleeds into Dynamite, Collision, the whole 9 yards. Ricky is back, right? Or is this just more bullshit regarding the Ricky Stark situation? Where it's like, yeah, we'll try and mend the fence with GCW, but it doesn't involve Ricky Starks. We're just getting rid of him. We're tossing him aside. It's like, what the fuck? Like, I have no idea what's going on, but I'll tell you this. If Ricky Starks is not involved in this and was indeed pulled, he was pulled, but does not get any sort of return on this. He just stays on the sidelines doing jack nothing. Do you realize just how poisoned this relationship is then between AEW and Ricky Starks? Like, that's a poisonous relationship. That's a toxic relationship. But hey, you never know, right? You never know. Like, I want to see how this angle plays out, right? Like Alexa Bliss once told us, Sometimes you got to let things play out. We're going to see how far this goes. We're just going to see where this leads us to. Because I don't want to be sitting here eating crow, after ranting and slapping my desk and going, God damn it. They didn't give Ricky Starks his dates back. Bunch of bullshit. You can see poor, sloppy shop, bad management, poor communication. I'm not going to go down that route just yet. Because I don't want to be sitting here eating crow if at the GCW January show, Ricky Starks ends up, attacking Chris Jericho, and that's his gateway back to TV. And that all this was fucking planned all along. This is just, but at the very least, I'm glad Chad pointed it out, because I also wanted to point it out, which makes me realize that I'm not alone thinking about this. Like, why didn't they just give Ricky his dates back? Why didn't they just go, all right. Or why isn't Ricky doing something with Chris Jericho? They're both from the same company, right? I don't know. I don't know, man. I don't know, man. And what about Willie Mack and his dates? Sure. You can do that too. I mean, that's still very weird. And besides, they reported this in the Observer, but didn't Sean retract the story? Sean Ross Sapp, didn't he retract the story? Because then he realized he was getting fed, contradictory information. So after he reported it, I'm not saying it's right, but at least he retracted it, right? He said, I'm gonna walk back the story and come back to it when people stop saying stupid shit. There's something to that effect. I'm paraphrasing. That's kind of what he said. So he retracted the story on the Willie Mack stuff. I don't know if this was AEW pulling the dates or look, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because it was something that shouldn't have been published in the first place. Sean fucked up. And he had this happened at any other circumstance involving anyone else than Ricky Starks, because this was on the orbit of the Ricky Starks stuff as well. Ricky is a protected class on Twitter, on the internet. He's a protected class. People love Ricky Starks, and they will defend him within an inch of their lives. So you got to be careful what you say and do. So, if there's already injustice for Ricky and there's injustices happening to other people, well, it's all going to be lumped in together, and it's going to be, oh, poor Willie Mack, he's stuck just like our poor Ricky Starks. However, the story for Willie Mack was retracted. So, but you see, unfortunately, I think this should not have been phrased this way with the Ricky Stark stuff, the Willie Mack stuff. I don't think it should have been phrased that way. I'm saying. Anyway, developing story. This will probably take a couple of months for it to come to fruition, but hoo-ha! I love wrestling. I really do.